Amazing. So the recording starts now. Okay. Welcome on my first step ever. It is always incredible to invite such guest speakers who have a story worth telling, who have really gone through those grueling days, years, nights, and everything that they do to be where they are today. They get to enjoy their life because they were very, very intentional in the path that they chose in whichever way that came to them, and how they keep going on because they have that conviction in themselves and they never really give up. So please join me in welcoming such an amazing person on this podcast, because we are going to understand much about what is conviction, what it really takes to keep doing the same thing that can get us to our goals, to take that first step, because she has lived that particular journey and she's going to share her story with us today. Please join me in welcoming Damini Yogini, all the way from Australia. She's been in New Zealand, but right now she's joining us from an amazing, amazing country close to both of our hearts, India. Hi, Damini. Welcome on my first step
Hello.
ever.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
So if you are watching this podcast, you can see how beautifully Damini is clad in this amazing, amazing attire, which she also calls her branding, which is very, very important. I think a takeaway for a lot of all of us, when you create your branding out there, what is something that you want to, associate yourself with, or what do you want people to kind of associate you with? So thank you so much, Damini, for appearing in this amazing, amazing attire that you have, and people who are listening to us, she is really, really looking amazing. So I will definitely leave the links in the show notes so you can follow her and learn more about her. But before that, let me give you a sneak peek into Damini's life. So Damini, at this point in time, she is a life, business, and whatnot. She does a lot of different types of coaching. She is an amazing coach. But to get to where she is, she had to go through her own journey that we are going to touch upon today. But through the integration of her Eastern roots from India and Western systems in Australia, she created a well balanced, life changing, powerful, integrated, holistic lifestyle, mindset, and service. So, her unique approach combines physical and spiritual health when she is in a sense of coaching people for their wellness, for life coaching, for business coaching. She really helps people in, kind of building that confidence, courage, deep love, and crystal clear vision. She also can help you build some really deep rooted trust in yourself and also self belief. Now, that is an epic service that I think anyone can do, because most of us are just, you know, at that edge of living the best life, if and only if we can, really connect with ourselves, gain that confidence, and trust ourselves. And so that I'm very happy that Damini is here, and I'm just going to get started with asking her first question. Damini, please take us through your childhood days. What were you surrounded with? What sort of mindset and people were you surrounded with?
Well, I didn't come from like a very traditional family. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and in 2000 and this is back in 2000, early 2000s, and that was not really common back in, back here home. So my parents were very driven people. They are high achievers. They're highly educated, but they got divorced, and I think that really affected me as a child. I didn't have like your normal upbringing, loving mom and secure home and all of that. But they were both driven, and that led me into being a very driven person. I'm quite a high achiever. I never give up. I am very self-led person. So I believe whatever happens in your life has both, the negatives and the positives. And yes, I didn't get that love and warmth, which I believe um, I really wanted. And I was just telling you before we started this, my in-laws now are literally just showing me what that really looks like at the age of 29. But my childhood really led me into being the person who I am now, who's very driven. And I think I love who I am right now. So yeah, even though it was not very traditional, yeah, I can't complain.
sometimes we ask like a very very general simple question, and there comes out a really, deep rooted personal, a very different story that we get to hear.
Hmm.
And this one has been, so the way we have started the podcast, I think we're hitting some really, deep rooted chords in you. But I also believe these are very important conversations to
Mm.
have, because for people who are, going through similar challenges, or maybe the level, the intensity of the emotions may match up to the one that you might have gone through, they can actually see that,
Hmm.
how you can turn those things in your favor, or what is the positive way of taking things. How much ever someone says, if you have not been through that, you will definitely not understand. Even I, to be honest, even I might not understand what you might have gone through, but it is always so interesting to see the human power, the power of your
Hmm.
mind and your own way of thinking, how it can change the trajectory of someone's life. And I'm also happy to know that, that particular love that you are kind of, getting from
Mm.
your in-laws is so lovely. It is also very amazing to know that you are now, showered by that love. But before you came to this thing, I can understand that you already developed that sort of a world for
Hmm.
your own self, where you started
100%.
loving yourself.
Yes,
So
yes.
moving on, just on this one, I think that's a great segue for my next question, which is like, you had a really different way of growing up, and definitely it was very difficult for you. You had different voices saying things to you, internally and externally. Are you able to take us through that shift, mindset shift for yourself, from growing up to probably your teens, or maybe just the verge of, completing your teens? How was that time for you, and
Mm.
how are you managing that?
I was very rebellious, very rebellious. So I have two stepsisters, and they both are like the perfect daughters. And I think I just wasn't. I never was. I was very rebellious. If my parents would say yes, I would say no. And I think one particular thing which drove me a lot in the beginning was my my dad specifically didn't have a lot of trust in me as an individual. And he would be like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I would just take that and turn it into an absolute fuel for my motivation to
Wow.
go and do that and make it happen. So whether that is, now I'm 29, I run a six-figure business, I'm an Indian classical dancer, I have a beautiful 7-year-old son. So I also had my child very early on, and I've created life of pure abundance. Like I'm happy, I'm settled, I know my purpose, and I'm just going after it day after the other. It started with me listening to myself and really backing myself up with it. So it's not that I would just be rebellious saying, okay, if you are saying, don't do this, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But I would do it. I would take full responsibility for it, and I will not give up until I would win. So that got developed really early on. Maybe the foundation was not the healthiest, because it was always like, okay, if you're saying this, I'm going to go do opposite. But where it led me, and over years you get more aware. So yes, when I was 17, 16, I wasn't that aware, but by 19, 20, the awareness element came in. I started meditating. I started, exploring more of awareness practices and stuff like that. And once that came in, merged with that kind of rebellious nature and just, I'm going to go and get this shit done kind of thing, it just was unstoppable kind of combination.
Wow, exciting. Really, really interesting to hear you, how things have been for you, Damini. Uh, Things could actually go completely other way as well.
Yes, 100%.
To be honest, but just to see, how you use that as a fuel to get forward in life. And something that you have mentioned, which is very very essential for us to kind of highlight, is uh, it's unfortunate that you have a foundation that, as you mentioned, that's not the best foundation that you were, kind of looking for, but then you made the right decisions going forward.
Mm,
I have never really delved into this question with any of my guest speakers before, but I find your story very interesting and unique, and I
mhm,
like to kind of tap into, the different phases of your story. And now we have just
mhm,
reached the phase where you try to manage all those emotions and put that into the right direction to actually, achieve something, to show yourself that no, you are good enough, that you people can trust you, or you can trust yourself that you can do
Mhm.
something. From that phase to actually getting married as you mentioned, quite early. Now that's an
Yes.
amazing choice, that's a choice
Mm.
that anyone makes, and quite a tricky choice for a lot of us. How did
Mhm.
that happen for you? Because I think that that's quite, I would say, different for millennials, I would say. So, we see a lot of millennials, thinking that let's get the career done first and then let's see how that
Mm.
happens. And that's also perfectly fine. What I'm trying to kind of understand or decode is just Damini's journey over here, that how she got to the stage that she is. Because I remember she had, we spoke about something, and she had very different beliefs to kind of begin with, and that
Mhm.
completely changed. So I'm
Mhm.
really interested to understand, before we get to the journey where your beliefs completely changed, how things were for you. How did you, plan to kind of get married at that
Mm.
particular time?
Yeah, it was not accepted at all because my dad was so angry. He's a PhD, he's a occupational psychologist. So he was like, "No, don't get married, don't have a child. You're too young, like you're a baby yourself. Why you're doing it?" All my friends were not happy. They were like, "Why are you doing it? You're going to ruin your career, ruin your life, and all sorts of things." And now Regan is my ex-husband, so we just got separated last year. Beautiful, amicable divorce, no qualms, nothing, and we went separate ways. But when we started, I remember us both having a conversation, and we both wanted to be young parents. I always wanted to have one kid, and I wanted to grow up with my kid. I didn't according to me, your cognitive power can stay with you for way longer, than your physical ability to be active with the child, to really give them the attention, the awareness, which they need. And that was my personal belief, and that was my ex-husband's personal belief. And we both decided that, he asked me, "What do you want to do in your 20s?" And I was like, "I'm not clear about my career. I would just do a degree for the
Hmm.
sake of doing degree because all my friends are doing degrees. But if you actually ask me what I want to do, I have no fucking idea what I want to do. But I do know I want to have a child, and I do know that I want to have it with you." He's also a PhD in neuroscience, and we both were studying psychology at that time, so we were not super naive about awareness and mind and how mind works. And yeah, we both made a decision to take that step, and marriage was just like a kind of thing which came out of that as well. And it was the best decision. My son is now 7. He goes to a Montessori school. I am 29.
Lovely.
I have the physical fitness to be a professional dancer. I have literally my entire life to work after my career. I'm highly driven for my profession. And he's 7. He's growing with me. He was with me in New Zealand for 6 weeks. Now he's with his dad. He'll be coming to India in a couple of months. So I don't see any mistakes made, but I completely understood how everyone perceived it at that time. It was not a mistake, it was a thought through thing, and I still stand by that decision. So, yes, it was again not traditional, but it worked out for us. And definitely, I'm really happy, and my son is incredibly happy as well.
Firstly, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Damini, and it's all true honesty, with so much love, and taking us through your thought process.
Mm-hmm.
One beautiful thing that I see over here is that as you mentioned, probably your all belief in what you are doing is something that you are ready to kind of take on, even the responsibility of that particular
Yes.
thing. And as you mentioned, it was a thought through decision. There were so many people, your loved ones, your friends, saying this is the biggest mistake that you'll do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is a voice, that's inner voice, that says that no, this is the thing I want to do, this is the right thing, I felt it, this is my gut, this is my intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be for anything, at any age, it could be anything. For you, it
Mm-hmm.
was, if we are looking for this aspect of your life, it was this, and you actually went with it, thought through it, and it is such a beautiful phase for you. Even today, I see that kind of happiness on your face and the life that you have created for yourself. God bless all of you. I
Thank
also
you.
heard something over there that you mentioned that you had no idea what you want to do with your life,
Mm,
professionally.
mm.
It's great that you knew that what you have to do personally, because at that point in time, a lot of people don't know anything in any of the areas of their life, whether it's professional or personal. So,
Yep.
take us through that parallel aspect of your life around that time, that you didn't know what to do and you were just doing this degree for the sake of it. How was that time for you professionally? What was going in your head? What were you feeling? Were you looking at other people and comparing yourself? Because that's a very common phenomena when we are growing up, and that all mostly happens when we don't have ourselves figured out. A
Mm.
lot of work goes into that. How was it for you?
Um, Let me think about that because I think because my ex at that time was doing his PhD in neuroscience and a lot of his friends became my friends. So I had like an insider look into what, doing a degree and going to like the pinnacle of it, which is your doctorate. What does that really look like? And I to just for just money, it wasn't worth it, to be honest, right? Like, I didn't want to finish a degree, have a debt, and then at the end of it go, I don't even know, is this what I want to do? Or like it's a soul sucking 9 to 5 job. But like, I don't know if this is what I want to go in debt for. So that was very clear. And I think I was very fortunate to be surrounded by people where I could see the process. Like,
Mm,
it was not just an illusion because a lot of time it is just a story, right? We are like, go do your 12th grade and then
so
do your
true.
degree, get a secure job. And we are almost sold this amazing story, which I believe for the most part is quite safe and certain. And if you don't really know what to do with your life, maybe it is good to go down that path. But I knew I was made for more. And both my parents were entrepreneurs, they still are. So I was grown up into the environment where it was all about business and none of them really did any jobs. So they both had successful businesses. So yeah, I chose to take my time. And once I had my son, I was 21. Motherhood was quite an
Wow.
involved process, you know. From 21 to about 23, I lived in Europe and in America. My ex-husband got a lab stay in these different countries. So we were kind of traveling around the world with our beautiful son. And I took a couple of years to just be and really
Wow.
enjoy the motherhood process. I used to do all sorts of research, this, that, look into it, but there was no rush. I knew once I find something, I would go all in. And then when I was in Amsterdam, I found modeling. And I was, petite, and I was like, yes, I think modeling would be cool. And I did that for 6 months to about 8 months, and that was really nice. Then I came back to Australia. Then slowly I started to look into getting back to a proper career. And that's when I came across the coaching thing. So I think having good conversations with my friends, with my ex, and just being surrounded by people who I knew they were doing what my dad asked me to do. And I was like, that's not necessarily what I want to do right now. And I can always do it later, you know? Um, yeah.
I really like how you mentioned that having good conversations, they really help
Mm-hmm.
you, delve into things that you might have never thought of, or probably you just touched upon and you never really knew that, oh, this is how things can be for me, or this is what really means to me. I'd also like a point which you mentioned about that you just that's how you just want to be, you were just there, like you were
Mm-hmm.
not chasing something, you were not looking for something, you were just enjoying your life, you're in the present moment, you were just there and you were
Mm-hmm.
absorbing everything that's happening around you, being surrounded with the right people. And that is incredible, that you gave yourself a shot, you went for modeling, and you
Mm-hmm.
also was a really hands-on mom. And this
Mm-hmm.
is quite a journey, I would say, going ahead, giving it a go. There are I mean, you definitely have a very unconventional pathway, a story, I would say, and that is very inspiring. At least for me, I can say that, that it shows you that you can write your own life, you can
Mm-hmm.
do things as what you like and what really makes sense for you. Because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, when we see you right now being the six figure your business is doing so well, you're a life coach, you also kind of help people with wellness coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I was gonna want to kind of dive into now, from the young 20s to where you just moved in Australia and started looking for that career that you really that could you connect with. How did that really happen for you? How did you find your inner voice, make that big move for yourself?
Mm. So, because I was studying psychology prior to having my son, I always knew that I want to serve people. That was really clear that if it would ever be a career, it would be in service, and it will never be a job. I definitely knew that from very beginning. So I did some small jobs to kind of figure out. Used to work in a float center, which is, I don't know if you know, like the magnesium tanks, the 300 kilos of Epsom salt, and it's really good for your parasympathetic nervous system. So I was working there, and we ran this study for people with PTSD. And they would come, and I started facilitating floats for them. And I just realized I really enjoy that. I enjoy holding space for people, and this is what I want to do. So then I started looking into different degrees, and there was this one holistic university in Australia. I don't remember the name, and they were doing some holistic counseling stuff. So I was looking into all these things. Then this person walks into the door when I'm working at the boat center, and he's like Indian with like long hair, and he just walks in and he's like coaching someone. And I just asked my manager, I was like, who is this person? What is he doing? And she's like, he's a coach. And that's the first time I heard that word. And I just went to him and I was like, I want to do what you are doing.
Wow.
And it was literally that. I was like, this is it.
That was quick.
This is it. Yes, I was like, this is it. And it was coincidental that at that time he was actually looking to teach other people how to coach because he's been coach for a while. So I was like, yeah, just show me the business side of things and how you run it. And also because he was Indian, I think I really wanted to bring that Eastern philosophy in my own journey. By now, I already had done Vipassana, which is a 10-day meditation retreat, shamanism, this, that. I was doing all sorts of courses and trying to understand human consciousness through different perspectives. And I was like, Vedic perspective is the one I want to kind of include in my work. And yeah, we started working together, and I learned how to start a business and coach from like an Eastern perspective. Within 3 months, I had my first client, and I've never looked back. So that was,
Wow.
yeah, it was very much so just following what's coming across and then making the informed decision based on the information I had in front of me, which is, I guess, how I've lived my whole life till now.
What I see is your eagerness, your even your that attitude that you have, that if you really want to do something, you'll just go and do it. I
Do
mean,
it. Yeah.
that's a theme that I've seen in your life in various phases and in various aspects of your life. And that was really amazing that you saw someone doing something that you really that excited you, and the very moment you went up to that person, you spoke to them, you understood what it is all about, and you probably I think did you ask them to mentor you, or how that process was for you?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I just had a conversation. We really connected. And he said this is what he does for living and he can show me. So, of course, there was like a fees involved and I paid him. And yeah, we went on a beautiful 6 month journey. And first couple of months was just rewiring my own subconscious, like, bringing chanting back into my routine, which I had no idea. I used to meditate, but I never used to chant, for example.
Mm,
And, just I think loving Indian culture again. Like it was a very exciting journey to come back to my roots and seeing it from a perspective of me, not what my parents told me about our religion, but how I can see it and how can I make sense of it. And then I went ahead and did a Vedic counseling training, and now I'm certified Vedic counselor as well. So that's how I kind of started. And
amazing.
yeah, I think it was just one conversation at a time. That's all what it was.
Wow, one conversation at a time.
at a
That
time.
this is so powerful. It's like it's all about taking one step at a time, taking the
Yes.
small little steps to get to your first steps as well.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna ask a $1 billion question. If you can actually take us through maybe your journey from that first client to making your business such a success at this point in time. How
Hmm.
was that process for you? What took you to be where you're today? Because I think that's where all the hard work lies.
Yes. And I think people don't realize that it does take a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work, but not in a way. I think people have the whole word hard work really twisted because they do what they don't like and they do it for 10 hours a day. And hence, hard work is seen as almost like this um, not a very palatable thing. But according to me, if your vision is clear and you deeply are in alignment to what you are wanting, then all the work feels effortless, you know. And for last 3 years, I've just been devoted to my business. I've also learned from world's best mentors and coaches. I spent around $30,000 in my first year of coaching, just learning from the best people around the world. And I would then, of course, get clients myself, make revenue back, invest back into my business. So that was a huge thing. I think learning from others really helped me collapse that time, and I didn't make a lot of mistakes. I was guided really well. And I think other thing is just deep level of self-trust, not holding myself back when I wanted to have a conversation with someone, extend an invite to someone to come into my container, and constantly being creative. I'm also a classical dancer, and for me, creativity is very important. So I started as a Vedic counselor, as a life coach, and then I went into mostly around purpose. And now it's all around business and predominantly visibility and voice activation. So I help business owners around getting really visible, really embodying their brand voice and living life from the place of, unwavering confidence. So each step of the way, I kept on reinventing myself and refining and didn't look back at any point. So I think I moved really fast because of the deep level of self trust and people around me. I think everyone around me, as I told you, my in laws, my fiance at the moment, and yeah, they're just amazing people who showed a lot of trust in me. Even my ex showed a lot of trust in me. My son, even though he's 7, he's like, he thinks I'm a champion. So I think it's very important to have, like, you don't need a lot of people around you, but having those few people who truly believe in you is all you need. And yeah, I've been very fortunate, at least for last, I would say 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years. I've been very fortunate to have very good quality, amazing people around me.
That definitely stands out in your story so far, Damini. I think you've been really blessed with some really good people, as you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, some really amazing men out there who really, really trust
Yes.
in what you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the topping them all is your son, which is so
Mm-hmm.
amazing because I think
Mm-hmm.
if he looks at you as a champion, that really fills one with a lot of trust and confidence in themselves
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
happy for you, and thank you for summarizing your behind the scenes of your success, the first step, I would say, because I think there's more
Mm-hmm.
to come for you. Those
Mm-hmm.
3 4 years of pure I wouldn't say hard work as just mentioned, because it's a very interesting definition that you've given over
Mm.
here. That if you do not like something and doing for the 8 and 10 hours of your day, obviously it looks like hard work. But once you
Yes.
align with something, and it's like you're in state of flow.
Yes.
You just work in a really different mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
everything that you put to your work, it really amplifies as and when you go. So reinventing yourself, learning from your mistakes, investing in yourself, and also being in the right surrounding, which is amazing. Thank you so much, Damini. I think I feel like we didn't have a lot of time to get to know you, but I feel like I've still got a lot to know a bit about you. I've absolutely loved understanding the amazing, fierce, woman that you are. I like the thing that once you decide something, it's not a frivolous decision. You have thought
Hmm.
through your decisions and you stick through them, and you make them look so beautiful in your life.
Hmm.
Lovely to see the different areas of your life, that the kind of decisions that you've made, the kind of work that you've put in, and you've always seeing yourself as someone who can really make your life, carve your life on your own, which is so
Hmm.
important. I wish you all the very best. I do have a very quick question, which
Hmm.
is, what does the future for you look like as a life coach?
Mm. Oh, that's I usually don't like to put a cap on what is it that
Wow, even
I'm
that's
going to
interesting.
achieve, because it's you never know. But I do know that I want to lead a business of service. I really want to serve. Predominantly, I work with women all around the world. I think we have so much amazing potential, and if we really own ourselves and um, yeah, really just unlock our voices and our expression, world is our oyster. So I think that's definitely one of my vision. I'm also a dancer, so I believe I want to excel in my dance. I just did a beautiful performance in New Zealand in front of
Ah,
500 people, which was amazing. So I want to continue doing that. I'm in India at the moment to learn from my Guruji in Pune. So I would be going and learning from her, and really just taking in all that knowledge, and yeah, like really spending quality time with my family, with my son. I think in between these three things, my art, my business, and my personal life, which includes yoga, meditation, and family, there is not much else which I get to give attention to. And these things keep me absolutely busy and in the most beautiful, amazing ways.
so we absolutely know the next time when we invite you, we have a reason we can talk a lot more about in depth about your
Yes.
your dancing, your art, the other aspect of your life that you are so heavily invested in, and that's such
Mm-hmm.
a creative side of yours. And also a lot more about kind of raising of sort of a family, as in when you
Mm-hmm.
also handling business and an art
Mm-hmm.
side to yourself. So thank you so much, Damini, for being on my first step ever, gracing this show, this particular episode, and as I call it, my show, my first step ever, leaving our listeners with really, really some pearls of wisdom, and more than anything, letting them know that it's so important to have conviction and belief in oneself. And before I let any of my guest speakers go, I always request them to leave our listeners with a quote or a saying that they really resonate with.
For me or for them?
For you, that resonates with you.
Oh, I don't have any quote, but I would definitely like to share that even though you can, I just had a session with a beautiful client before this podcast, and she was saying, I'm struggling to find my purpose because I don't feel activated every single day. I don't feel like, excitement every single day. I, I don't think you should mix these two things. You can have a purpose, but still your day-to-day life can look like the one of deep focus and dedication and discipline. Not every single day needs to look like a honeymoon. And if you just stick through those one step at a time with a bigger vision in your mind, you'll get there. And I think the reward of getting to your end goal is, yeah, it's unparalleled. There's nothing else like that. So if you are focusing towards manifesting your visions in any way, just one step at a time, every single day with a positive mindset can do miracles.
Those are some golden words from the amazing, amazing lady out here, Damini Yogini. Thank you so much for being on my first step
Thank
ever.
you.
For everyone who's listening to us today, if you like to follow Damini, which I know that you are interested in already, in any aspect of life that has interested you, dance or about family, about life or profession, I will leave the link in the show notes. So please make sure that you connect with her if you like to. And also, as I always tell my listeners, that start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself. And we are going to see you with another amazing person, another amazing story of the first step. But for today, thank you so much, Yogini.
Thank you.
Damini Yogini. I think even Yogini sounds like a really cool name.
Oh my God, I wouldn't go into the story, but I gave myself this last name, what you wouldn't believe, because when I got separated, I was like, I don't want to go back to, my dad's last name. I don't want to go back in life. I was like, what next name? So I actually gave myself this name.
Wow, that's incredible. And I think that's such a fun fact that we are ending this episode on. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about really fun facts about Damini Yogini, then do connect with her. Thank you so much for
Thank
being on
you
the
so much.
podcast. Awesome,
Thank
Damini.
you.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I think I've taken your four
All
or
good.
5 more minutes. If you
Okay.
have just 1 more minute,
Mhm.
I'm just going to ask a really quick question that goes as a promotional snippet. If that's all good,
Mhm.
it's going to be a really quick 30-seconder.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Hi, Damini. Thank you so much for being on the first step ever. We had a really, really, really good session today and a good chat, and I learned something really fun about your last name. So, if you're interested to know how did Damini Yogini get her surname, then please watch the episode. But right now, I'm going to ask her, how was your experience being on my first step ever?
It was amazing. I absolutely loved your journey. And thank you so much for asking marvelous questions. I think I also, it's always beautiful to come on a podcast where you get to kind of have a retrospective perception on your past. So I'm feeling so proud where I am because of the beautiful questions you asked. And one step, the first step, it's beautiful. I love it. It was amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that it was a fun ride for you as much as it was for us. Thank you so much, Damini. And
Thank
that
you.
is